What events led to the 2022 recession? In a game of stacking wooden blocks to build a tower, it is common knowledge that one wrong placement will have the tower crashing down. Think of this as similar to the dominoes effect, where the tilting of one domino brick will have all the dominoes stacked against it tumbling. Such can be said for the recent tumbling economy, as one wrong placement leads to the horrible recession state this year. In today's video, we take a deep dive into what events led to the 2022 recession. Let's go! Over the past 8 months, virtually almost the entire year, prices of a lot of things have crazily been increasing like never before. There is a rise in the cost of feeding, rise in gas prices, cost of housing, and all of these exactly depict dominoes falling and tumbling over each other until the final crash comes and the world is neck deep into a crummy recession. To properly understand the issue surrounding this, we have to get a clearer picture of the events which led to the recession. But first, what is a recession? The National Bureau of Economic Research defined recession as a significant decline in economic activity spread across the economy, lasting more than a few months, normally visible in production, employment, real income, and other indicators. Nothing better defines the chain of events that have been occurring so far. The economic growth that was highly anticipated when the pandemic ended has mostly faded away, if not completely now, and our entire global economy has been affected. For a while now, all our economy has known is a decline in growth, or even at most, slow growth, and insanely high inflation, which is a result of the restrictions we had during the pandemic. We would know that the rate of unemployment is falling rapidly now, leading to an uncommonly low rate of employment of only 3.6%, as opposed to the regular when it rises and people lose their jobs, which is exactly when a recession occurs. This is the main difference between this recession and the previous 5 ones that have occurred between 1970 and 2021. The next question that may come to your mind now is, why is such a thing occurring? Keep watching and we'll satisfy your curiosity. Most recently, it has been harder to recruit people into various positions. We can see a typical example of the millions of job vacancies currently open in the US. Most people aren't ready to travel for jobs because they are already comfortable with working remotely, which the pandemic provided in 2020. Right now, a lot of people just want to maintain that flexible work life, and this is not possible in all positions. This, however, isn't the only problem the pandemic has caused. We would know that a recent study shows that 75% of companies report a negative impact on their businesses due to supply chain constraints. The pandemic occurrence in 2020 just made things worse for global supply chains, alongside the invasion of Russia into Ukraine, which is not only a humanitarian disaster, but also something that led to a great decline in commodity production. Various products such as barley, wheat, and sunflower oil instantly became harder to acquire due to this. In addition to this, the prices for 30% of the global platinum supply, 13% of the titanium supply, and also various products used for the production of cars have now increased since the inception of the war. Larger manufacturers may still have the resources to keep their staff to maintain production, whereas for smaller companies, it might be difficult to do so, and they may be forced to shut down. The effect of this is that since larger manufacturers get vital products from smaller companies, if the latter shuts down, then the former would not be able to run effectively. With all that being said, supply chain constraints combined with the rise of inflation all lead to this seemingly fast approaching recession. We know that inflation started to grow in 2021, but expanded in 2022, hitting the highest 12-month increment since June 1991. And now, this high inflation is endangering US economic growth. The inflation was a result of the excessive amount of money that was printed during the pandemic in 2020. The government gave stimulus checks and also reduced interest rates during the pandemic, and were indirectly pumping a lot of money into the economy. This sudden surge of money circulating in the economy led to inflation as we see it now. In an attempt to curb inflation, the government decided to increase the interest rate. That usually worked in reducing inflation because the high interest rates would prevent people from taking loans, and this led to a reduction in the money supply in the economy. But the increase in interest rate also came with disadvantages, and it felt like the attempts at reducing inflation made things worse. The increased interest rates led to a rise in the cost of borrowing, just as predicted, but it also made it difficult for many corporations that require loans to develop to take loans and pay them back. This led to a decrease in demand, so the corporations started to lose their income while the government also lost its tax income. The rise in interest rates did not only affect the US economy, but the world at large. The US is the largest economy and the dollar is the world's reserve currency. Currently, the dollar is the strongest it has been in 2 decades due to the increased interest rates. But the stronger the dollar became, the weaker other currencies got. The rise of the US dollar has led to a decline in the value of the UK pound, the euro, and China's yen, among others. The effect of the rise in dollars is felt by developing countries that rely on imported goods rather than exports to boost their economy. It makes it more expensive for these nations to import the essentials they need. Right now, things are getting way expensive and a crazy rate at that which is causing people to withhold cash in preparation for future hard times. This is causing a lot of doubtful feelings among people and a decline in consumers' confidence. A lot of people are now in fear of a global recession as growth slows due to high inflation, constraints in the supply chain, and also the increase in oil prices and other valuable items as a result of the Russia-Ukraine crisis. Essentially, when people feel very pessimistic about the economy, a recession kickstarts then. With over 70% of adults in the US seemingly believing that we will be in a recession by the end of the year, most people began cutting costs. People are seen to now spend less as opposed to a typical recession where people would buy products they want. We see now that everything that happened back then in 2020 is now having a ripple effect on the global economy 2 years after the pandemic. At this point, you should all know that the worst is yet to come. This brings us to the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed watching this as much as we enjoyed making it. Do you think there could have been a way to avoid this recession? Do let us know what you think in the comments section. If you liked the video, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and tap the bell icon so you can get notifications about any future videos.